G'day and welcome to my 4th episode of DJF Live, or whatever I'm going to call this on my channel here, but welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, I cover a lot of companion and live streaming, video production and photography. So if you have any questions today, pop them in the chat and I'd love to be able to answer them for you as we go along. I've got two things that I just want to go over with you today. Is a little button that I'm building in Companion to be able to take snapshots, which is how I put together the poster frame that you would have seen on this as we get going for the live stream each day. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of a look at VLC playback within Companion, and particularly the way that I've sort of built this through my profile here. But as I mentioned before, if you have some questions around Companion, please drop them in the chat. Good to see we've got Ben Shabat here. Welcome. And initial question from him, which is, he's wondering where I'm up to working on an update to Elgato's profile. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that in terms of the native profile. Most of what I focus on is the Companion stuff. I do have some sort of bonus material with my package that is focusing on Elgato's native stuff. But what I am, yeah, that should be up to date from what I understand. So let me know if that answers that. All right, so I'm just going to get back to Ryan. G'day, Ryan. Good to see you. That must be, what time is it over there? It must be very early or maybe very late, either one of the two. But g'day to Australia. Good to see you. Good to see you on this stream. All right, so the first one that I want to look at is how to build a button in Companion. So each day when I do this setup, as I've shown you before, I do like a little video intro. So I've got my video journal of the week, which we can go over when we get to VLC. But then I've also got to take a still frame just to make this image. So you probably know how to do this, but under, let me see if I can get over to here. Just gonna get rid of this one. Okay, so yes, we are here. Okay, under software control, under media, this is where you're gonna have your media pool, and down here you can capture still, and this is gonna capture whatever is on program now. So because I actually have this screen going to program, if you look at number 3 here, this is, if I click this, that's going to fill up with the screen. If I wanted to take a picture of myself, I would have to cut back to me on camera and then smile and go, hi, and take the capture that still. But what I wanted to do with Companion was to build a button that I could press that on the Stream Deck. And not only that, but if I held it down for half a second, that it would activate a timer. So it would give me 5 seconds to strike a pose or something like that, because otherwise, every button, every poster frame that I take for the setup of this show has my fingers on the button, which is going to be, a lot of the same. So let's see if we can get ourselves a new poster image, even though, like, I noticed today's I am still on that one, which was, let me see, go down to, I think it was this one, MP, is that right? Yeah, this was the poster frame for today, which is me, pressing the button there. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Mac, and what I've got under here is under macros. I've got a whole bunch of macros that I've built, and one of them is, I don't even know where I put it. One is a grab still somewhere in here. I think it was back there, grab still. So if I was to press this macro, you'll notice under number 5, actually go run, recall and run. And so now when I click this, it's gonna create a still here. And it's starting to fill up my media pool with captures. So this is the first step, which is to create a macro. So for example, let's just use this slot at the end here. I'm gonna go create, I'm gonna go grab still. And I call this number 2 because I already have one in my setup. Now this is active and everything that I click on is going to record. So I've got to be careful to press only what I want to press on. So I'm going to go capture still and it's just going to capture whatever's in the feed. And then I'm going to stop that. And I can test it out. If I go over to run, or call and run, click it, and it's created another still. So now I've got a whole lot of useless stills, which I will start to get rid of by Xing out here. All right, but now I want to get this grab still number 2 into a button. What I've got under page 2, this is my sort of working page. So I've got my main switching page, but then when I go, I've got a custom page and a show page. So my custom page is like all of the usual stuff that I use, and this is a mess at the moment because I'm working on like H2R version 2 stuff and some run of show buttons that I want to do to automate the beginning of my show a little bit better. As you may have noticed, we started at 11:05 today, so sorry about that. I'm trying to be like smack on 11, just want to like kick right into that show, but I got to that point where I was like, man, I need another 5 minutes just to get this up and running. So that's why we hit 5 today. But this is where this sort of layout is going to help me to get these run of show happening. So I'm going to have like a pre-show, running the show, and then ending the show. And I got some other buttons here, like changing my multi-view or getting like this input number 1 if I want to just like get a close-up of camera 1 to see like, is everything in place? Is everything on the desk? Is it clean? Have I got food on my face? That kind of stuff. All right, so, but one of the things I've got in my show setup is this grab still button here. And I'm going to give you, there's 2 parts of it. The basic way is if we just, I'm going to pick this as a new place to start a new button. So let's go regular button. I'm just going to call this grab still like that. And then what I want to do is a macro. And I've got a couple of installations here. I'm going to, actually, no, it's only the one turned on. So I'm going to go extreme ATEM macro run. And then I'm going to search for grab still, and you'll notice like my macro number 42 is the one that I had pre-programmed, and this is the one that we've just done today. So I'm going to put that there, and then because I have, I can probably bring this up here. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So I've got my Stream Deck here. All right, and the button that I've just created is this button here. If I zoom in on, ooh, not that one, jumping around, wrong button. Oh, it's very slow, very slow, very slow move in. All right, let me just do repo to 3. Oh, there we go. All right, this is the button that we just created in there. So now when I go back over to here, move this aside, it's going to fill up in this first slot available, which is number 3. So I'm going to hit my grab still. I don't think I pressed that hard enough. Grab still, and it's just grabbed a screenshot here. So now we have, if I can get myself back to camera, now we have an example of that's how you can quite simply create a button on companion, link it to a macro that is doing an action within the ATEM software. In this case, we're going grab still, and just to take that picture, and that's it. If you just want to do a single press, but now what I want to do is make something a little more complicated, because if you have a look at, let me see if I got here, and actually I'll bring up my screen here. Let's do that way. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so when I do this grab still, I'm going to zoom in on that. Camera 2, because I want you to be able to see this. Oh, too far. Okay, so this is my grab still button. And then in the background, you're going to see what's going on here. So yes, okay, I'm going to press this. So if I press that once, it's done a still. And if I press and hold it, it's gone 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Smile, and it takes a picture and holds it down. So this is how I'm getting to that point of being able to hold the button for half a second, and it's going to trigger a 5-second timer. The way that, the tricky thing about this is, and what I've done with a lot of this type of long press action that I've built into my profiles, is that you need to trigger the second action and not trigger the first action. So I don't want to like press the button, it takes a still, and then it presses a 5-second timer, because then I end up with 2 images, one of them I don't need, and that's kind of useless. So what we've got to do now is to, into this single button, build in the function where we can, if we hit it, if we just press short, so it's like on off, then it's a photo. If we hold it for half a second, then it's going to take the 5-second countdown. Okay, so let's jump back over to my Mac here, and I'm going to jump to this button because I've already pre-built it, and I'll just talk you through what's going on here. In the button text, I actually have, this is referring to macro 42, and so that's where, if I go over to software control, where are we here? And where did I put that? This one. This is number 42, and it's just reading this text, and it's pulling that through this variable. So under variables, under, I can't even see it. There we go. This is where you're going to find all of your variables if you want to copy something. So for example, I could go down to macro number 42, and you'll see that it's reading out as grab still. I could copy that text, and then I'll do it in this one. I can just paste that in there. X ATEM macro 42. Okay, so that's doing that grab still button there. Back up to this one. The /n forces a new line, and then it has the 3-second there, which is actually not on screen, as kind of irrelevant at this point. Okay, so that is what the default text is, but if I scroll down the back here, I've got this feedback state going on, which is actually to use another button style, and I'm pointing the style of this button to page 56, button number 13. So let's go to page 56. And this is my sort of back-end system pages. And you'll see here, this is where these 2 buttons actually physically sit to some extent within the Stream Deck's, sorry, within Companion's image layout. So with Companion, you've got 99 pages in which you want to build things, and then you point your Stream Deck's surface to a particular page, and then these are the buttons that will show up on this 32 button layout. In this instance, I've just got these buttons kind of sitting on this service page, which I never actually access on the Stream Deck itself. My Stream Deck is just referencing this. So this first one is just grab still number 42, which just, that's the single press. And then this button here is the one that's making the actual feedback and doing all of these countdown type things. So this one's pretty straightforward because it's basically, there's no delay on it, and it goes straight to grab still, and it just takes that. But if I press this button, what it's doing is saying change the background color. Also notice I've got relative delays turned on here. So it's going to do one action after the other, and any delays that are built in here will have to take place before it goes on to the next one. So this is making the color a lighter red so I can see that it's activated. And I might actually just, so if I hold down Shift, I can press it now. So you'll see this is actually basically that button that was coming through before. Smile, and that's it back there. So that's the button that's been pressed. All right, so it's made it red. Then it's gone change the button text to 5. Then it's gone change it to 4 after 1 second, so it's 1,000 milliseconds. Then 3 and 2 and 1. And then on 0, I've put a little smiley face in there, and I've changed the color immediately, 0 here, after this 5th second delay, to yellow, just so I can see that, boom, we've taken a picture. And also at the same time, this macro is now able to run, which is saying grab still, and it's hit that macro. And then the internal button text is changing its name back to this macro 42, which you'll see back up the top is this variable text that is pulling that macro text through from here, grab still, and it's changing the background color back to this darker color of red, because that's where I want to be able to, make it so it's a dark red, so I know it's like a recording type function, but it's not bright because I don't want it to be activated. Okay, so the next thing with this is to be able to, on that front page button, have it so that the different length of time of the action is going to press either the button that takes it straight away or the one that has the delay built in. This bit is a bit of a tricky workaround, as I said, that I've been using on a lot of my programming here to be able to do that. For example, if I want to like put a input camera 1 to preview, but I want to long press the button, it'll change the HDMI out. So I have that sort of functionality built into it. I do believe that Companion is at some point maybe bringing that functionality in as an actual button type. So under here is where you would one day hopefully be able to actually set a different type of button, like one that rotates through different spaces, states, rather than just a regular button or a page button. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our button on page 2, and I'm going to show you how to activate it on and off. So stick with me here. Okay, so we have, let me see here. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm using an OSC module and I'm turning it on or off at the beginning, and then whether that is on or off, that's going to trigger the short or the long press. So under my connections, under OSC here, it's actually off at the moment. I can just enable that and edit it. So I've just got this OSC generic module. I've just called it OSC, and the target IP is just the local address here, 12321. Save that, and also under settings, you need to make sure that the OSC listener is actually enabled and turned on and has the same port number. Okay, so with that enabled, I'm just going to copy this button. Oh, actually, no, I'll start over here. See if I can just build this entirely. And I might change my input so that you guys can see me. Is that, no, input 2, ta-da, here I am, okay. Cool, we're all set. All right, let's build this button. So I'm gonna go, actually just let me have a quick look. See what we got here. Enable, so it's instance, button press. I'm gonna cheat and go back to these things. Press bank 56, because I always forget. Okay, so rather than this macro running, I'm gonna delete this button. And I'm gonna go instance, and I wanna enable or disable instance. I'm gonna do 2 of these. Instance. And I'm gonna go to my OSC. I'm gonna make it this one that I'm targeting. And in the first instance, I want to turn it on, and then in the second instance, I want to turn it off. And the second instance is going to have a 500 millisecond delay. And then what I'm saying is, if I press this, I've turned this on, and then when I release the button, I want to, it's going to be send message without, I've got a couple of them in here. OSC, send message without arguments. And it's, I gotta double check this, but I think it's press bank, and then it's, what did we say, 5613? Let me just double check if I did that. Yeah, so backslash press bank 5612, sorry, was the button before it. Okay, so let's do that one. Excellent. Okay, so that is going to, if I press this button now, let me see if I can I'll just press this on my Stream Deck. Go to here, and I'll go over here. So now it's got the short press. So I just hit a hit that button once, and it's actually triggered that button 12, which was on page 56. So if you remember on page 56, button 12, I had this run macro. So right off the bat, it's just going to take this picture. But if I hold the button down for more than half a second, I want Companion to know that I don't actually want to press that button straight away. I want to press a different button. So let's go back to page 2. And under here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is press under my actions. I'm going to go press, button press. I'm going to move this one up. Going to put the half-second delay on it. So now when I press the button, it's going to turn on OSC. It's going to, after half a second, run the long press action, which is this 500, which was page 56, and this was button 13. But if I release my finger before half a second, so if I do a short press, then on the release part of it, I want to go abort actions on button, and by default, it's going to say this page, this button. So as soon as that button is lifted off, this is sending out the abort all actions. And so what this is going to do is it's going to cancel out this long press here because it hasn't had time to run. All right, let's see if we've got this correct. I'm going to go back to, let's put me back on to input to PTZ 2, and I'm going to bring over software control. And so you can see what's going on here. And if I hit this one down here, it's going to take a picture. And now if I hold it down, it should, after a bit, over here, yep, there you go. It's taking that second picture. All right, so the last thing here is the feedback so that we can see on this button, like, is it actually doing what it said it should be doing? So that's where we're going to go back to here, and we're going to go down to feedback and what's it called? State, no, internal. I think it's internal. It's internal command, which is use another button style, which is going to be, again, 56. And we're going to use button 13 that we had there. So see how that just changed all of a sudden? So it's now copying what is going on that button. So if I press this one, which you can just see, let me just jump over there. This is the one that we're working on. Hold it down, okay. And we've got an identical button that is working like my other one, smile, and it's taking the picture, and there we go. So that is how you build that if you want to be able to have a capture button so that you can actually take screenshots of what is coming out of the program of your ATEM, which is very handy if you're setting up for a show and you just want to grab something, or maybe you want to like grab a frame to send to a client. So you're like setting up a shot for a live stream, and you can take that out. And then if you want to email that, I'll show you where to find that, which is over on, okay, my desktop's a mess here. I'm just going to go new one, and we're going to go, what is under? Documents by default. It's going to be under Documents, ATEM Autosave. It's going to be the latest date. And if you scroll to the bottom, it's going to have ATEM Media Pool. And all of these are just going to be dumped in here like that. Cool. And then you can just like pull that out and copy that. That is a PNG, so you may want to like compress that and make that not as big. All right, just a couple more comments before we continue on. If you have any questions about that, do drop them in now, because I'm going to move on to doing VLC. But we've got Paulo saying hi, g'day, nice picture there. John Dyson, hi David, hi, how you doing? We've got Keith Bennett from Washington State, welcome. And John is here in the UK, which is the afternoon. We're just about to go the afternoon here in New York. Good to have you guys joining on the channel. All right. Okay, one question here from Crane358. Can Companion distinguish between a button down and a button up? It can. What I was showing you there was using the down action and the up action to actually separate it out into a long press and a short press. But if you wanted to use it as a, so let's go to, I'm just going to go to page 3 here because there's a little more space. And I'll cut across. Okay. So I'm just going to build a button. And so basically the layout here is you write in your text. So I could call it cut. If I wanted to do a cut action like I've got down here, you've got your font size. You can put in a PNG if you want to get a little image in there. You can align your text so you can put it somewhere. You can change the color of it. So you could make it orange and you can make the background green just so it's nice and gross. And then there's 2 buttons here that change the function of it. So what I was saying before, relative delays, is if I tick this and I go, this is probably not a great one to use, but perform auto transition and perform auto transition. So if I want it to press this button, let's call it auto instead. And I'm going to make it a bit smaller. If I want it to go this after half a second, and I want to make this one after 2 seconds, this relative delay means that if it's unchecked and I press this button, it's going to do a transition at half a second and then at 2 seconds. Whereas if it's checked, this would be at half a second and then 2.5 seconds. Let's just press that for fun and see what we get. So I've autoed across and then gone back. Cool. And then this latch toggle is actually separating them out. So I'll come back to that actually. So by default, you've got this press action and then a release action. So I'm trying to think what I could do here. So maybe I want to do my PTZ. Trying to think what I should do. That would make sense. PTZ 1, I could recall, and I want to go to number preset 2, and then when I release, I want to go auto. Okay, let's try that. So I'm just going to put this on here, and we're going to go PTZ. Just give you a little more so you can see what's going on my Stream Deck here. Yes, okay, I've got this on now. So yeah, this should work. And I'm going to go to my auto button. So what's going to happen is, I got to change my input here. Sorry guys. Let's go key input 2 onto 1, cross like that. Okay, so I have built a button now, which is this button, so that when I press it, it is going to go from this camera 1 position and it's going to start moving into camera 2. Just got to make sure that we're on slow speed. Yep. And when I release it, it's going to auto across. So at the moment, I've got this on here and it's going to cut across to this. All right, so let's go. I'm going to hold this down and it's moving slowly. I've got it on a very slow speed, but you'll see that it started the first action, but my finger is still on this button. So when I release it, it's going to auto across to that, and you can see. And so that's basically how it distinguishes between a down and an up. So for example, if you're trying to do a, change audio settings, you might want to hold it down, and then you can, when you release it, it's going to stop. That's kind of how that will work. And then the other one was this latch toggle is, if you turn that on, it's going to turn on one state or the next. Let's see if I got a button here. So for example, my mode button here is a latch toggle button. And what's happening is, I'm going to go back to my key input 2 onto PTZ 2, put that over there, yeah, so you can see here I've got all my input keys here are on preview, and but if I'm going to copy this over here, if I do this, it's actually toggled them onto a program state. So now when I hit these buttons, they're actually going to hard cut. And if I toggle this button again, it's going to go back to preview. So they're the modes that you can use in terms of whether it's like an on-off type thing, or if it's a button you hold down to do one action, then release to do another one, or what I was showing you with the companion button, so the taking the photo button, where it's delayed. It's something where it's a little more complicated because we're using another module to sort of turn it on and off to register what state we want to do it. Thanks for the tangent. It's nice. I was thinking of a momentary effect like that. That's the deal there. Cool. All right. All right, let's move along. I got one more thing we're going to do today, which is, I'm just going to get my cameras moving, come back out here. I've got this very slow PTZ, just give it a little effect here. So I want to show you guys a bit of VLC, and just how I've got it set up in my profile here to be able to use VLC as playback. I actually do use VLC quite a lot, and I don't own a hyperdeck. I haven't quite got PlayArtB to that place where I'm content to use it in a production, but VLC I've found very easy to just kind of dump in a file. So for example, what I've got here was, let me see. Nope, couldn't get the Mac. Cut across. I'm just gonna get rid of this. So in my photos, I just made a little video journal, and I spat that video out, and then I've got that under my, what's it under? I've saved that under here. So this was, no, I didn't save it under there. It's just randomly down here. Okay, so this was the video that I made as just kind of a journal of my last week. Fish. Where are we? Okay, so what I've been able to, oh man, I just changed the name. Undo that. Okay. So with VLC, what I like is that in here, this has actually got last week's videos in there. You can just drag it in to your media library. So I've got it in here twice now. Wait, where is that? Yeah, it's in here. So this was it, video journal, and then I've dragged it into the playlist. And then in the playlist, that's where under the VLC, that is showing up here. So my input number 1 here is showing up as video journal 220222, which happy palindromic day or whatever, if you like. I love palindromes. So yes, today is a good day to do a live stream if you like numbers. Okay, so this is where all of these things load up. If I go back into my media library, I've got some like defaults that you've probably seen before. These are like drone videos, so I can just drag them in and I can move these around. So notice how every time I just move this somewhere, this is changing the order. So it's very easy to kind of build a run of show if you just wanted a couple of videos there. And then in terms of the way that I've got this set up, let me see if I can pull this up quickly. No, 7, 6, there we go. Okay, got that. All right, so this is what my multi-view is looking like. I've got, what have I got? My MP1 and 2 at the top. I've got Super Source, Premium Program along the top, and then I've got my audio on air and recording. I didn't actually hit record, so we should probably do that now. Maybe I'll just hit, hold that down. Cool. All right, so very easy to hit record. I'm now recording, which is good, just for posterity. And then along here, I don't know if my hand's gonna come here. No, it's not. I can't reach far enough. I've got my cameras 1 to 8 in there, so I've basically got VLC coming into input 7. Let me see if I can go stand up here. So 7, and then on 8 is that green spot, which is H2R, so that's being chroma keyed out, and I'm using key 4 to be able to do that. So that's kind of my setup between graphics and video playback. So my video playback is on 7. And if I cut to here, you can see I've got, actually that's another example of it. So this monitor is actually showing me my video playback, and I got a copy of that going into input 7 for there. And then on my, let's go over here, on my Stream Deck, cut across, okay, I've got a VLC page where I can have all the videos that I've loaded up. I can play it, I can see the time that's coming back, and then I can actually do some either go full screen preview or a picture-in-picture effect. So let's start with picture-in-picture effect. Okay, so what you can't see here is that on the preview side, which I probably should have had my thing up here, is actually it's put up the VLC, see this one here, as a picture-in-picture so that I can play it back. And then I've got my, I can run to B and I run to A. So if I'm getting in the way of myself, I can move it out of the way somewhere. And also if I hold this down, actually, so let's hit play. I'm just gonna make the volume a bit lower. This was President's Day, just going up to Cold Spring, go for a little bit of a hike, get out of the city. So I've got this picture-in-picture that I can, if I hit this, it's, by what I'm doing here is it's actually resetting it. So it's building it and it's back up the top. So if I hit cut, this is what I've got in terms of bringing this onto screen. And then, yes, I can go back to B, back to A. And what I could do is if I hold these down, again, this is the same sort of function like I did before with long press, is I could go infinite, so I could actually zoom out, or if I hit A, it'll come in, or I could actually start by holding this down and it'll go full screen. So I could be playing a video and then I could put myself in the program so that when I then go to, let's just go to A maybe, that's where I'll be like, hey, what do you think of this video? And you can sort of make commentary on a video that you're doing, or you could, because you can like pause a video and you could, let me see if I put myself up here, you could basically roll it on. So you're playing the video and then hold it down and be like, all right, let's take a look at this video, and it'll go full screen. And then again, if you want to commentary on it, you can hit your button to go back, which I'll give you a bit of now. So this video, and what I've been doing in each show is just using my iPhone to very quickly throw together a video so that you've got a bit of pre-roll that's not just like a graphic. This is my video journal from the last week. So I had my edit set up here as I was editing something. I've rearranged the studio, the desk is facing the other way, it's on wheels. Sometimes I pull that white thing down just to get a nice sort of reflection for video calls. This is my fish, this is my wife. This is us going to Cold Spring on the train. A lot of ice up there at the moment, going for a little hike. I just wanted to get out of New York for the weekend. I have found that the export of these videos has a lot of compression on them, so it's not like amazing quality of that, which I wish Apple would do something about that, given that you can record 4K and you can record ProRes, but then you output these memories in like very low quality. So that's not ideal. Went up the hill, read a book, came back. My fish is struggling. I don't know, I'm hoping it's gonna be okay. And then today, so this morning I just came in and I just shot this with my phone. Obviously it's in my hand, so I'm trying to like flip through things and do all of that kind of stuff. But I figured today I would put on a bit of a blue background just to sort of mix it up. a little more color. I've got this desk can roll around, so I'm getting rid of my editing setup here, and I'm rotating it around so that it's sort of facing this camera that is already attached here, and my multi-view is set up here. And getting the audio set up and putting the blue on this backlight here. The Aperture Mini light dome is very handy just to be able to slip a gel in there and create a bit of color. Today I went for blue. We could do something another week. Snaps in, very easy. Also added a bit to the front to just kind of a bit more blue. And then that's the setup. What you're looking at here is basically, I've got 2 monitors and I've got a copy of those going into the ATEM. I've got the ATEM over in the back there behind the desk, and then on my desk I've just got some audio control, got my cans here in case I do need to sort of refine anything, but otherwise I've got an earpiece just to make sure I can just monitor what's going out in terms of the audio level and that kind of stuff. But this is how I've built VLC within Companion to be able to play back and do all of those nice things. So there's a couple more things on there. One is, let me see if I can cut across here. And yeah, I'll just leave this on here. Nope, turn that on. Just keep this on. Okay, so VLC is just permanently on now. So in these channels here, actually let's turn that off because you can't see what's going on. The inputs that I'm using is I can either do VLC via, you could have 2 VLCs and maybe put onto a different computer, and you could use inputs. This is input 8 and input 7. Otherwise, if you're using the ATEM Mini Pro, I've programmed it to be input 3 and input 4. But 8 and 7 because I'm on the extreme here. And then if I jump over to H2R, that's where you'll see key 4, and it's using input HDMI 8. So because I'm using H2R for input 8, today on VLC, I'm actually just using this preset channel here, and I can actually monitor the audio channel here in terms of doing audio follows video, or I could turn off the audio entirely for that. Okay, so I've got 2 things here. One is this picture-in-picture, which you've been seeing. So if I press that, it is actually, in the background, it's doing a whole lot of macros and running things, and so now it's actually sitting in my preview. So if I hit cut, it's going to bring that picture-in-picture on. As I said, you can put it into B, or you can put it into an A position for that pre-roll. But if you actually want it full screen, let me see if I can pull this up. Nope, not 7. What do we go to? Was it 8? It was 8. There we go. My multi-view. Hopefully you can see this. All right, so if I hit the full screen VLC, it's actually cleared it. Cool. But it's also put the VLC into the preview. So for example, if I was here and I was chatting to you, and I'm just going to cut back across so you can see what's going on in this multi-view. But just say I was putting, I'm switching away and I'm putting in this view into my preview, and then I go, actually, I want to go to a videotape. Is what I would do is hit VLC, and then that's actually loaded this up. I can choose the video that I want in here. Where are we? Nope, not playing ball. Oh, my videos are missing. These other videos. That's why it's actually giving me it's giving me this message saying the files don't exist because they are elsewhere. All right, but they would otherwise show up. All right, I'm just going to delete that for now, and we're going to go back to here. So under here, again, so preview full screen on that, and I can either hit play, which is going to play the video. So I could queue it up to a spot. You'll see in preview it's just coming to a point. Or I can hit, again, this is that question before about does the button go down and does it have a release date as well? So I've built in here. So if I wanted to queue up this in the background, Ignore the fact that you're hearing audio because I've got the audio routed differently today. But for this video one, I could press it and I'm still holding this down, and you'll see in preview it's playing through. And so I could just get an idea of what's in there. I'll release it and it'll go back to the top. So now I go, okay, this is the right video. This is what I want to play. And then under my, I can probably turn this on for you. Let me see. Hang on. Key, input, to, onto. Nope, that's not what you want. Sorry. Now that I think about it, I'm using my PTZ camera to show this multi-view shot. That's what I'm doing wrong here. Let me just, sorry guys. Okay, we got that. All right, so you can probably in the multi-view see what is going on, maybe on the screen on the other side. Okay, so we've got full screen VLC, so I've hit that and it is coming up on the preview monitor, and then I can either hit play, or if I hold down the play button, it's going to transition across, and it's actually done that. So again, using a long press to go to do two actions where I wanted to have a video that was playing, I want to play and then transition across so that you don't have to think about so many things in terms of like start the video, play, and that kind of stuff. So just avoiding some of those things. All right. John wants to know, would it be possible to use VLC in some way to produce a stinger? I think it would. I haven't actually tried that. I mean, the stop-start of it is pretty snappy. It depends on what computer you're playing it back on. Like, you can do VLC on a Pi, but it's a little not quite as snappy. But on a Mac, I've found it good and straight away. So, yeah, I haven't tried that in terms of being able to transition that across. But I would imagine there's no way you can't, because like within Macs, where are we? Within BitFocus, connections, VLC, edit. Okay, so you can actually, yeah, you got your settings here, and then what was I trying to do? Buttons, variables, presets, VLC, player. Okay, so you got a bunch of like play, pause, loop, shuffle, full screen, that kind of stuff. And then you've got a playlist, so 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of stuff. And I've built buttons within that. I think it's 29, 30, something like that, 30. So you've got all these variables and text states. So like variables under, where is it? I'm staring right at it. So you can pull over all this text. So if you're trying to like reference a particular video and get really fine details on it, like you can see that at the moment I've got 145. So and it's got the item name. So you could build a queue of stingers, and you could get it to target a particular one within the queue. And so you would just go instead of, so here it's number 2, number 1. So this is saying pull this VLC name from the playlist. I've only got one in there at the moment, so it's pulling video journal whatever, and it's saying play clip number 1. So you could do the same sort of thing with a stinger, so that you pull this video in, load it up into preview with an ATEM command, and then you could transition it across, or actually you probably put that into a key, and then you could do that key over the top. So yeah, you could do that. You would just need to get a lot of, you'd have to build a lot of that sequencing to be able to do that specifically, and then you'd want to not change it too much. Yeah. The development work of H2R V2, you saw it there before. It's still, I just need more time. Where is it? Here we are. I'm just playing around with these buttons at the moment. So this run of show here, and yeah, just like a whole lot of like my logo. I never actually, do I have this come up? Yeah, there we go. I never really do that logo. And then, yeah. So yeah, it's still a work in progress. What he's referring to, if you're not sure, is like on page 29, I've got this version 1 of H2R. But what happened was when they released version 2, so you'll see down here I have version 1 of the application on the Mac is 0.4.1. And then version 2, I've got up to, I think there's a newer one out, but I've got 2.5.1 at the moment. And under the module here, it is actually by default now selecting to run version 2. And there's a whole bunch of new commands that are different to version 1. And so if I was trying to, this is like undefined, nothing to configure, like all of these commands are looking for things that are specific to the application in version 1, not into version 2. So yeah, that's why it can't just like continue on. It needs a rebuild, and I'm playing around with that. And also like to have buttons in Companion that link through to a rundown, which would be like, you know, something that you could, let me just get rid of social. So for example, you know, to be able to bring on all of these pre-built things that you could then go into, let me just drag this out. Lock, where are we? Edit. So you could go in here and edit and, you know, change some of the text there and modify it for yourself without having to, you know, go in here and create everything from scratch. But I would say in the meantime, I'd encourage you to get version 2 of H2R, get the Pro version, because there's a ton more that you can do. And John's done a lot of really great work with that, and I think it's worth the money. And then when you go to connections and you add a connection, just type in H2R. It's the same module. So you'll put that in, and then you'll go, so it'll turn up like this. You can make sure this is turned on to version 2. And then under presets, you will have H2R. And this will have basic actions like that, and then show hide. And then this is actually presets that are pulling across things that you've built in here. So that's kind of an easy way to just grab a timer, right? So like, I'm just going to delete this button that we made. So I could drag this in here over the top. And then that was our 11:05 a.m. start time today. And then all of this kind of stuff you don't have to deal with as much because it's already in there, and they've got the latch and unlatch actions pre-built, and then they've got the feedback and all of that kind of in there. So there is plenty that you can do to just like get up and running with H2R right away, and makes it quite easy. Okay, what have we got? Hide all. Oh, there we go. I see. I'm starting to get my buttons for H2R working there. Just going to jump back over to social. Ben, regarding the previous question, I meant if there is an update soon with all the functions you showed for the package that you purchased with ATEM Extreme version 2. I am planning on doing that at some point. As I was saying, like I need time to sort of build that in properly, and then also working out whether to just like ditch version 1 or to do the other one. Got a nice little VLC message there, VNC. Yeah, so that's basically where I'm at with that. Polo, very interested to see the VLC integration with the buttons. Do you have all apps running on the same Mac? I do. So I do actually have a Raspberry Pi in my little rat's nest over here, which is running the H2R, like it's pulling the network address, and in Chromium doing a chroma screen, full screen, and then cutting out all of this stuff, so it's just leaving the graphics here. But other than that, the actual application for H2R is running on the Mac, and also VLC is running here. And I've just set it up such that under my displays, you'll see the two here. So I've got two Dells, which I'm looking at so I can see what's in front of me. And then on the back of that, I've got, it's probably not going to show it, but I've got the Blackmagic mirrors of that are going out to the ATEM, and they're going, at the moment they're going into inputs 5 and 7, and I'm using 7 for VLC because that's what's pre-programmed in my thing there. So that's how I've got that one set up, and I'm using an M1 Mac Max or whatever, which I've done on previous shows, and so you can take a look back at that if you want to see the computer aspect of it in more detail. I keep it stored under the desk, and I've found that has been reliable, and it can run a ton of screens. Like I'm running 4 screens at the moment. So I like the new Macs. I think they also run cool, whereas my previous MacBook Pro Intel one was running very, very hot and would just struggle and slow down. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, John, give a Stinger a go. I think that'd be interesting to see how you go with that, and let me know if you get a solution. Maybe record a little video of that in action. I think VLC could probably do that, and you might want to do like a chroma key output, or maybe a key and fill if you've got 2 sources available. But it's probably more of a chroma key if you're trying to do particular cutouts or like a wipe through. But yeah, cool. All right, guys, I think that's about all for today. I'll be back next week with your questions. So if you have any other questions, you can post them after this show in the chat, and let me know what you want to hear about, more Companion stuff. Companion is very soon, I believe, going to release version 2.2.0, so it'll be officially supported for a lot of this cool new stuff going on in the modules that previously we've been using the beta versions for. So I'm hanging out for that. When I get that and when I'm able to test that out, I'll let you guys know. And until then, have a good week. And I'm gonna use my VLC playout, and we'll see you next week. All right, see you guys. Bye.